Irashaimase. Hello and welcome to Fataris' Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fataris. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday. And on the menu this week we have Tiny Pixels Volume 1 Ninpo Blast. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. From developer East Asia Soft, Ninpo Blast released in August of 2024 for all current major platforms. The version we're looking at today is the Nintendo Switch version. This title is a simple score attack game. The idea is you're setting as high a score as possible on your various runs. Along the way, you'll collect these gears which will allow you to further upgrade your character so you can progress even further. At least that's the idea. The price point is great. The game itself, while on the simple side, is fun. So if you like that type of simple gameplay, this one might be worth checking out. Diving into the gameplay. So here we find ourselves at the main menu. Before we go any further, there are a couple things to note. So this game does have an online leaderboard, which is extremely important for a score attack title. I feel that just helps enhance the experience. Then we have the upgrade. So here's where a lot of the meat of the game is. As you progress through your runs, you collect these gears, which you can see over on the right, and then those we can use to upgrade our two different guns, as well as change up your environment, your bike, so those are basically cosmetic. But there's some neat things in the score and the ninja. So the ninja helps increase your health, basically giving you extra lives. But the score, so by default the game only has 3 bosses, but you're able to unlock up to 6 bosses under the score tab in addition to increasing your multiplier. So it depends on when you want to do that if you play this game yourself, but I'd recommend kind of grinding out the weapons first and then upgrading your bosses. Starting the run. So this is Ninpo Blast. There's 2 weapons we have available to us. There's a more focused fire kunai, which is a straightforward fire. One thing to keep in mind, this is basically a fully upgraded save file, so all the weapons are going to be at full power. And then we have our spread shot, the shuriken. There's also one other attack we have. So there's that circle that surrounds our hovered bike, and as that circle fills, once it's all the way full, we'll have use of our katana attack, which is basically a full screen slash, which will damage all the enemies or destroy all the enemies on the screen. However, one thing it does not do, we can see here, is it does not damage the bosses. So when you're fighting, well, any enemy, on the right there you will see the enemy's health displayed in yellow. If you happen to have invulnerability frames, those are displayed on that shield at the bottom. I do appreciate that they have that available. Our lives are on the left. In addition to that, there's also the all-important combo multiplier. So as I was talking about the score, another thing that you can upgrade is your total multiplier. So initially, when you're first playing the game, your multiplier can only top out at ×5. You can make that top out all the way at ×9. So if you're looking to score attack this game, that's definitely something you should upgrade sooner rather than later. As far as the way the stages are set up, so it's referring to them as waves, but it's kind of like they're just these stages that are broken up with boss fights. So you'll get a kind of a random assortment of enemies. The enemies are usually, you'll at least encounter roughly the same enemies in each section, but the order that they appear is going to be random. So there is some procedural generation there, and that helps break things up. So now we're fighting our second boss, and this is one of the bosses that you unlock by purchasing the additional bosses. So initially you only have the 3 bosses that are relatively simple. The ones that you unlock actually change things up, and some of them, like this one, are actually fairly, not difficult, but just time consuming. Especially if you fully upgraded your weapons, it won't be too hard to take them out, and we can progress onward. And basically, that is Ninpo Blast served up for your enjoyment. As I said, this one is just a simple score attack where you're doing your best to defeat the enemies, keep your multiplier up without taking damage, especially against the bosses. So the multiplier will decay while you're in the stage themselves if you don't defeat the enemies fast enough, and that can be a problem, as there will be situations where the enemies either spawn in a bad place, or you can't get to the enemy in time, or they're relatively tanky and the combo meter falls all the way down before you can encounter another enemy. However, when you fight the boss, the combo meter does lock, so your boss score will be timed by that multiplier, but you will lose that multiplier should you take damage in the boss fight. Something to keep in mind. So as far as the minus flavors are concerned, one thing that is a bit of a problem is once you hit about wave 4, there's not really a whole lot more to the game that you're going to see. Wave 4 and 5 kind of give you the last of your basic enemies, and especially if you haven't unlocked the additional bosses, you'll start seeing the bosses repeat at this point. So that's an important takeaway, is that the game itself is simple and it's on the short side. It's just if you're looking to kind of grind out a game with for score, this is a good one to give a try to. It is important to also note that from a strategy standpoint, you want to know when you want to use your spread shot versus when you want to use your focus kunai. Some enemies, like one works better than the other. For the bosses, though, you definitely want to go focus. But that's really my biggest problem, is there's just not enough variety to the enemies and the bosses until you unlock the additional bosses, and even then, your lifespan for this game is going to be a little on the shorter side. But as far as the plus flavors are concerned, so I do really like the upgrades that the game has. Being able to purchase persistent upgrades for your weapons as well as your character, the scoring, unlocking additional bosses, changing up the background and the cosmetics for the bike, all of that is really fun. And the thing that I can go and say like the most as well is also having a leaderboard. This really helps drive me to play more of this game. It's like I want to go and see my name on that leaderboard, and I want to climb higher if I can. And then lastly, there's really great value here in my opinion. Given the lower price point, if you just want a simple title where you're blasting bugs for score, give this one a shot. Alright, that'll just about bring us to the end of this week's episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. As always, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful week, and as always, we look forward to seeing you again next time.